And welcome to Appeal Yourself Off the Mat Monday edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForest, always joined on these Mondays and Thursdays by my man Mike Jones. Love talking sports with Mike Jones. And, of course, he's got the numbers, my man. He's got the numbers. The numerology is insane. He goes all the way back. He tracks his stuff through history. He goes back to the original wager being made in Las Vegas. So good to have you on the show, Mike. Now, it took a little hiatus. I was in degenerate nirvana. And it was an interesting contrast. A couple of experiences I had. I went to Lexington, Kentucky for the last few days of the Keeneland meet, the last week of the Keeneland meet, Wednesday through Saturday they were racing. And absolutely incredible. I have never, Mike Jones, seen a more concentrated collection of babes ever in any sporting event, any environment, even going back to the naked women at Woodstock, like you have at the Keeneland Racecourse. If I had it to do over again, I would enroll in the University of Kentucky, Mike Jones. Never mind the cold of Syracuse. It is absolutely sensational. Great scene. And then we went from there. The last day, they had no tickets left, even if you were buying them way in advance to get into Keeneland. And we were leaving early in the afternoon anyway. So we went to what a fabled harness track called the Red Mile, where they had simulcasting. And the crowd in there, by comparison to what we saw at Keeneland, well, it made the guys that were in that Jamaica OTB parlor back in the 90s when I was calling Hurricanes baseball, and I wandered in there, and I thought, and that's why I had a gambling epiphany. I said, look at these dregs of the universe. And then I realized I was one of them. And that was the kind of crowd we had over at the Red Mile there for the simulcasting by comparison. But good trip all the way around. I have to hit the refresh on the I don't know. Do you have a policy about ATM visits during the time you're on the road at a gambling destination?
Never.
Yourself,
bring out what you bring, and when it goes, it goes. That's the end. There's no ATM.
Refuel. I mean, look, you can't be there for 2 more days without betting.
Yeah, it's
You
hard.
can tell yourself that as a guy. I'm sure anybody that's a track person has experienced, or even if you're betting sports, which, by the way, you can go to the racetrack there and bet sports, which is kind of different.
Legal. Yep, Kentucky's legal.
Yeah, they did a nice job with that too. It was really readily available, and they had plenty of screens and all of this stuff. But you tell yourself, hey, I'll just sit these next couple of days out. You can't do it. Is it possible? Have you gotten to that point where you've just been like 2 days, you get hammered, you go out to Las Vegas, you're losing everything.
Yeah.
You're swimming in a sea of red ink, the likes of which you're starting to compromise even your lifestyle when you get back. And then, but you can't think, oh, well, I'll just watch the games tomorrow. How are you going to do that?
No, I get it. It's hard. It's trying to find interest. It's hard to watch a game, nothing on it, this and that. It changes your opinion of what you're watching. Like last night, I had a firm opinion. I really thought the Steelers had a chance. And then you're watching it and you see right away, early in the second half, after that catch I thought the catch by the tight end, Kraft, on the ball he threw up in the air, the Hail Mary kind of.
Oh, that was amazing.
And then he catches the ball, boxes out the DB, catches the ball, and runs 40, 50 yards with it. I thought that was the game. And they're still up 9 at that point, but you just had the feeling.
They were 2 I mean, it looked like they should have invoked the infield fly rule.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
You complete those passes.
You can't catch it. Yeah, that's what I thought.
That was your boy Eli Manning to Tyree.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the more incredible.
When are they going to call the infield fly rule on this thing?
Yeah.
And sure enough, a guy ends up making a catch. No, that play killed you. You
could look at a game like that and just see it unraveling, and then the DK Metcalf penalty, and I'm glad Aaron Rodgers made reference to it. The selfish discipline, and I get it. Metcalf has got a point. Supposedly he claims that the kid spit in his face and it didn't get seen on camera, but that's why he grabbed his face mask and took the 15. But at 3rd and 1, and to 3rd and 2 in the middle of that game, down 10, you can't, 9 to 11 minutes ago, you cannot make that play. And then, it's just one of these things where these games are just so on the fringe of what happens in the, for the future, each play. Like, it's just plays decide games. And then you're looking at it and, all that with the money and that changes hands. There was a game last night where in the Giant game, which at the end of I was explaining to my guys that the Darius Slayton pass interference, as bad as the tush push play was in the Giant game, which I'm sure you're going to see all over the place if you didn't see it, that Hurts is clearly going forward, extending the ball, and they take it out of his hands. And the referee rules the play dead, saying that he had momentum. And Boomer Esiason was on this morning with his guys, and I agree with everything he said. He said they're acting like the first down marker is the goal line. Like once he gets it, they're marking it past the marker, and that's it. It's a tush push. He still continues to go forward. It's not the end zone goal line. And Hurts was extending the ball. And then they didn't let him challenge. And
Roger Goodell need to step in,
yeah,
limit push. I
well,
know that they voted on it and they could left it in.
well,
But what a
Jeff,
ridiculous play. I mean, it's ridiculous.
no, but here's my thought on the play. When I was with the Giants, Parcells always emphasized you couldn't touch the runner, help the runner advance. That
Yeah.
was the rule. And then they changed it. 15, they want more offense, so they changed that rule. This is how players get hurt. You get rolled up on. Little safeties and DBs don't want to go into that pile because they get hurt as 300-pound linemen just push the pile.
The other
You
side
can't
of it
advance.
is, when a defensive player pushes an offensive player back 10 yards,
They
that's
get called for a penalty.
yeah. I mean, they give the guy forward progress.
Or they give him 15 yards for not stopping.
So why do they leave these tush push plays alive for the offense to the point where the guys stopped and then all of a sudden here comes 12 300-pound guys. They're running in from off the sidelines. They all start pushing. The referee loses count. And they allow the forward progress to go all the way into the end zone when the guy would have been routinely stopped. And you should be able to push him right back then.
I saw it run once in Cincinnati where the two tackles went behind the quarterback, went behind Joe Burrow or whoever the quarterback was at the time, and literally pushed him into the end. He wasn't going to advance. The center got stood up, and the two guys came back, and they just stood the nose tackle up and pushed him in the end zone. I was like, this is what we're coming to. The tackles are moving behind the quarterback, and they have four guys just pushing the guy forward. I mean, but that play was a 7-7 game, and then that play basically changed the game. If we get the ball there or return it for a touchdown, who knows what happens. And then, but that's just part of what we're seeing. And then the play I'm talking about is you have over under 17.5 Giant points. And Darius Slayton goes for a clear play where the guy is grabbing his jersey and he basically knocks his hand off from grabbing him. And at that point, the player stumbles. So it looks clearly like Slayton got separation. And they call pass interference on a touchdown for the Giants. And it's like, you're looking back at it. It's like, how could this even happen? Like the referees are just so bad. The touchdown last night to Wilson in the end zone, he takes 3 steps before the ball's even batted out of his hands. And the ref didn't rule the plays. Like, I wonder what the refs are doing. Like, are they good enough to be having the jobs that they have? And that's what's going to go in cartel gambling. You have guys fixing games, and then you have things like this happening. As a gambler, you're like, well, why should I waste my money on this? And the winner's not going to say anything.
Anyway, because we're fueled by self-sabotage, Mike.
Yeah,
it's not going to discourage anybody. People are betting on pro wrestling. I mean, it's insane.
I get it.
It's interesting, though, because this whole gambling investigation reared itself up again.
Mm-hmm.
Now with arrests, actual tangible arrests. I would like to get those X-ray vision glasses that Chauncey Billups' crew was armed with and play blackjack, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You see a guy about to take a card, and you know that brick is coming for the dealer, and you grab the guy's wrist before he can signal that he wants to take a hit, and nearly chop off his hand because I mean, wouldn't that be great? What a great advantage that would be.
I was talking to a former casino guy about this over the weekend, and he said to me that they used to trap counters by doing that. They had all those gadgets, the card shuffler that could fix the cards to a certain count. And then
you insert them into your eyeballs without being.
I mean, the glasses that see through the cards. Guys were marking cards. The poker is just. I sat in a couple poker games with some real players, and it was scary. You didn't know what was happening. I didn't know who was dealing. I couldn't tell if a guy's dealing.
You would be Stu Unger though with X-ray vision glasses,
right?
You'd be sitting there going, I know you got 2-5 off suit, and you're trying to bluff me out of this pot. I'm going to go all in here, and you're going to lose every time that you.
Well, there was that fraud in the early 2000s when they had those online poker games where the guys in the games could see everybody's cards. They had the house would enter a player in the game and he could see all the cards.
Whatever happened.
That was the big.
Was anybody held accountable for that?
Yeah,
it's kind of like the way Shohei Ohtani was treated in this whole gambling investigation, where and you can relate to this, having been a Vegas guy for however long, and obviously somebody that's been interested in gambling and been on all sides of it. But okay, so we're to believe that this towel boy, who is also his translator, is calling some guy from the Corleone family and saying, They answer the phone and go, "Hey, Yoshi, you're down 12 million, but you want to bet 5 million tonight on the Dodgers? Okay, no problem. We'll take that for you." I mean, you got to be kidding me. This guy was like an interpreter. He's
Yeah.
getting that kind of credit from some bookmaker, and yet he takes the rap, and he's very much like the trainer, Greg Anderson, for Barry Bonds, where so he does some time because he doesn't want to run out Barry. And where's he today? He's probably living on the Amalfi Coast there, with some young Italian girls draped all over him while he's enjoying the good life because Barry said, "Thanks for doing the time there." And what did he do? Like a year? This guy's going to do
Yeah.
4. Surprised
Yeah.
he hasn't received a presidential pardon. But
There's more to that story. I don't want to get into it, but there's a lot there that that you could
you
look
have
back.
some knowledge of this,
Yeah, yeah, I
oh,
did. Yeah, I know a little bit. I know that Matt Boyer went on the podcast and talked all about it and his history and all that. And yeah, it's different time.
how
And
damaging do you think this will be? I mean, you really think? Because look, as we say, all gamblers are fueled by self sabotage. If you knew there are guys that are playing in the NBA, Major League Baseball, deliberately striking out or whatever. Look, does it look horrible if you strike out today in Major League Baseball, swinging at a bad pitch? No, because that's what everybody's doing. So it's
uh,
easy to fake. You would wonder how you would have enough money to influence somebody.
yeah,
Uh, and then you would also think, and this has been a common theory forever when it comes to gambling and its impact on pro sports, especially, and then college sports being on the level, is that the easiest people to go ahead and pay off and buy would be the referees.
and Tim Donahue was one of them.
Yeah,
And I know he came out and made a statement that this is the tip of the iceberg, and that's what Cash Patel said at the podium in New York. Here's the thing. I mean, it can happen. I thought that this would occur after 2018. The Passport law was overturned that these companies would do it. But here's really where you got to look at this. FanDuel and DraftKings are the two top players in the game that have 75% of the business. Basically, they came about from fantasy sports, which is basically player props or
sure.
look at betting on a player to go certain. Fantasy football was that very fun game. So they made a ton of money doing that, and they got into gambling, and so the player props have become a lot more popular through their marketing and through everything. My thought is this: there was a guy in Minnesota, a senator in Minnesota, that before Minnesota turns law will not allow college props. I think you should start there. Could you imagine? And I asked a buddy of mine who's linked to college sports this question over the weekend. Do you think the NIL came about from the legalization of gambling to prevent these kids from being corrupted or being pushed into a possibility of knowing that you could bet on this game or fix a game? A quarterback that's getting no money, that can't afford gas in his car, and some guy better comes up and says, "I'll give you $50,000 if you throw a pick in the fourth quarter." I mean, did that what the NIL came about? Is that okay? We're going to stop this right now and say to prevent corruption, we're going to start paying these kids. And I think that, and he said it's a valid question. He goes, I would have to be looked into, but I thought that was a
I think you're facing like other legalities about the whole idea that they weren't compensating people in a business that was worth billions of dollars, and
yeah,
the people that were making it happen. You don't tune in to watch a guy coach. You don't tune in to watch people officiate and see some athletic director lead the department. You tune in to see the players. So
right.
they were making all the money. How can you possibly justify? I always thought this cloak of amateurism was, well, it was. It was among the biggest farces ever in sports. I think the World Boxing Council had more legitimacy than the idea that, oh no, well, we don't want to ruin their amateur status. It's like, what the fuck is that? People, this was the rules were made and instituted when there wasn't this kind of money in the game. But through the evolution of the television contracts and all of the marketing that's done, there's no way that you can say to a player, "Oh, well, your scholarship is your compensation." So, yeah, I mean, I think that was going to come about no matter what, gambling notwithstanding. It
Yeah,
had to be.
I just think that it was pushed then. There's no way someone's going to convince me that it wasn't, that this was what was going on at this particular time, that all of a sudden the NIL gets, as soon as PASPA gets overturned, we start thinking about paying the kids.
Yeah.
Because the integrity of the game would have suffered. It would have come out. It's coming out now. These are pro guys. Terry Rozier's making 23 million a year and he's still doing this. So to me, I just look at it like, do the props go away? Do we take away player props for college kids? Do we figure out a way to do that? Now, I like the fact that the Fanatics during the basketball playoffs, when Steph Curry got hurt, paid back all the Steph Curry, gave rebates to every single person that had a Steph Curry prop over. I thought that was a great start of it. It was over $500,000, and I thought that was a tremendous move. I think if you get hurt in the first half, like a Scadaboo injury, your prop could go away. If you have over, let's call it a dead prop for that time. Prize Picks, number 3 in the market, 5 million customers, a million active users a month, needs these. That's their formula, all about live betting of player props and all that stuff, and betting, the start of games. So how are we going to take it away? You're not, but you have to. You have to police it to a point where you got to make it reasonably fair or prevent this from happening, because I think it's going to. I know you're right that a lot of stuff, but there's guys I know that I was talking to that are lifelong gamblers that are near our age that were saying the player prop should go away and that the integrity of the sport is changing. And it's like, what do you do? I mean, that's what I think. I think the college player prop should definitely go away. That's a start. That's what it's
I forget the name of the movie the line comes from, but there's a character that just says, gambling is a disease, but
right,
curable.
right,
Might not be at this point.
yeah.
So, all right, let's get into some stuff here, because a friend of mine pointed out we were doing another show earlier this morning, and one of the guys on the chat line pointed out that this is, I believe, it might be the only sports equinox where you have everything in action tonight. You have Major League Baseball with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. We'll get into that a little bit, because you are our seam head here. I mean, you are a splitter when it comes to baseball conversation, although you did throw in the towel on the Dodgers.
I was hearing. Well, if we could go there, let's go to that.
Had your head spinning like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. I think influenced you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I was worried about the pen for the Dodgers in the series. The price was high. Never saw a favorite laying that kind of number, and they get smoked in game 1. But Yamamoto came in and pitched the game of his life, and even the series. We're going to see what happens. I know the players out there, some good handicappers do baseball a year, saying Dodgers in 5 or 6. We'll see what happens. I just think the team doesn't strike out much, keep the ball in play. We'll see what happens. I'm not taking it tonight. I'm going to be a watcher, but I think that it should be really good. They look forward to it, and I probably would lean Dodgers if anything, but I'm not laying the number. So
big fat line tonight. Glasnow and Scherzer are going to be the starters here. Glasnow of the Dodgers and Gausman of the Blue Jays, are they the same guy?
Close. A little different facial hair.
Too. They could switch uniforms like they did last night, by the way. I tuned in the game last night, Pittsburgh and Green Bay, and they got these weird uniforms on both teams, and you would have thought it took me a while to figure out which team was which.
That's funny. Yeah,
I thought the Steelers originally were the teams in the white uniforms, and that the Packers were wearing one of those old hideous Green Bay sort of Paul.
Yeah, Green Bay was the first one I think that put that kind of uniform on, the old school uniform back. Yeah, with Aaron Rodgers in it. Yeah, the pants were just amazing. They looked like tights. What are they wearing?
In the words of the late great Phyllis George, what the fuck was that? I mean, how are you supposed to tell who's who? And then the Hurricanes, our hometown team, in college football, wearing these fatigues. I thought they were getting off the plane for the Fiesta Bowl when they lost to Penn State.
That's great.
Benny Testaverde to have one of those camouflage hats on. What the hell is going on out there, as they would say? All right, so I have a baseball issue for you, then, and then we'll get into your thoughts on it. Because you have the NBA going tonight, you have the NHL going tonight, you have Major League Baseball and professional football, all 4 sports leagues in action. The game tonight with the Chiefs, and it's actually listed in my post line here as Chiefs versus Redskins. But whatever happened, their printer must have gone array in disarray, because they also have the Dodgers playing the Raptors tonight with a big fat line on that. So we know what they mean. But the issue in the World Series, my friend, and I don't know how much you rate and factor into your betting equations who's officiating. Because we know the NBA has a site that tells you who the officials are going to be, and a lot of people base part of their wagers on with the crew, and you can follow these trends and all of this stuff. So he couldn't believe, is it John Tumpane or Tumpania? John Tumpane, the home plate umpire. I think it was for game 1 of the World Series.
Hmm.
Says that this guy, I mean, his concept of the strike zone is as warped as any that we've ever seen in Major League Baseball. He
Yeah, it
makes
was weird.
Angel
Yeah.
Hernandez look like he was Augie Donatelli or something. I mean, one of the great umpires of all time. And to have this guy calling balls and strikes, I mean, you were onto something earlier when you were talking about officials, but this would be, I would imagine, a huge area of concern with the influence of gambling now. That not only are these guys incompetent to begin with, but what happens when somebody finds out that they may be into the Gambinos for several $100.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that you just don't know anymore. And I think this is where I think you're going to see a little bit of a. I think when they evaluate this and it comes out that there's more people involved, I think it's going to be a scary feeling for, the efficacies of gambling. I just don't know, what how it plays out, but it's going to be interesting to watch over the next 6 to 12 months if
All
see
right,
if there's more to it.
you're not laying 2-1 tonight with the Dodgers, even though Scherzer has been.
I like under 8. I'm going to go under 8 and say Scherzer gives you a good start. Glasnow seems all right. I'm going to play the under that maybe the Dodgers bullpen doesn't implode. That maybe Glasnow gets the 6, 7 innings, and Scherzer comes up with a crafty little start here, and so I'll go under 8 tonight.
All right, we'll go to full spectrum here. NHL, 2 games. Blues, Penguins. Penguins at home, they're playing well. And the Senators, the Ottawa Senators, are going against the Boston Bruins. Any thoughts on either of those 2 games? Just
Senators coming off a big 7-1 game. Bruins playing so hockey. Let me look. What's the numbers on both of them? I'm gonna give you a 14 parlay, one in each sport
uh,
tonight.
you're laying 178 with the Senators tonight at home in Ottawa. Tough place to play, I would imagine, right?
I'll tell you what, they come off a big 7-1 win there. I like them. I'm going to lay the puck and a half. Go for the empty net goal and take the plus side on that bet.
Okay, you're praying for an empty netter at the end of the ball game. Full slate of NBA games are close to it. I mean, it's not quite a full slate. Many of the games, I guess, they didn't have a line for yesterday because a lot of them
Yeah.
show that they're off the board here. Injuries have been a big factor.
Mhm.
Luka Doncic going to be out. Any NBA games stand out to you, Mike Jones?
Yeah, I think the Grizzlies, who were embarrassed by 40 in the Heat and then came back with a big win the next night of Saturday, will go into Golden State and give them a game. I believe they're getting 8.5. It looks like at Golden State. I don't know. The injury report tells me someone might be out for them, but I'm going to take the Grizzlies plus the 8.5 against Golden State at home as leg 3 in my parlay.
Okay, so we get to the moment of truth here. Now would be the NFL game. Chiefs and they're saying the Redskins here, but we know it's the Commanders. The Chiefs looked like they've righted the ship all of a sudden. The last couple of ball games, they look really good. The Commanders, so. So, what do you see happening in that ball game?
Well, mine was
11 and a half or 12.
so, so Commanders are without Jaden Daniels tonight.
No,
They get back Terry McLaurin and Debo Samuel, who obviously they missed in Dallas, struggled to get plays from out of their receiving core. So I think that opens up a few things there. I'd love Kansas City secondary is great, but Kansas City's missing their left tackle, Josh Simmons, for personal reasons, and Trey Smith is out too. There's all-pro right guard. So I think that could mean a little bit of a difference for this. I'm going to look at this game and go with the plus 11. And the reason why is I know that Patrick Mahomes is 14 and 20 as a more than 7-point favorite in his last 34 games as a cover. He wins the games. He's only lost twice, but as a cover, he doesn't get it. So I'm going to say it's going to be one of those games where Washington hangs in there. Marcus Mariota does enough to keep it close. I'll take the 11 with Washington.
this reminds me of a situation where you're at a simulcasting place and you're betting horses. Maybe you got to Vegas on a Tuesday, and the only tracks are running are these sort of B, C level tracks, and you find yourself thinking that you're an expert on Mahoning Valley, which you've never cashed a ticket on. The Chiefs are like that for me, where whatever I do with them, it's wrong. So I would tend to agree with you. Taking the points here looks like a possibility, to make a score and be on the right side of this thing. But if I tell you that and tell you to do that, that I agree with you, you're dead meat because I cannot gauge the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought maybe they had reached a point a couple of weeks ago where they just everybody naturally assumes that because they've been in the Super Bowls the last 3 out of 4 years
Yeah.
that that they're just going to be there again, and you're thinking, all right, well, maybe they sort of bounced off that ceiling that they've created for themselves, but then all of a sudden they come right back and they look great again. They get Rice back, their receivers are playing, and Mahomes is doing his thing. I don't want to jinx you, so I'm going to stay out of this game.
Well, I mean,
I would tend to agree with you that anytime you're getting double digits, it doesn't even matter. I mean, you can have, although you said the chalk players, I mean, hold back on the milk of magnesia. The chalk players were in delight this weekend in the NFL. The bookies must have taken a serious burial.
Yeah, I think. Well, let's look at and in all that, the real fun part is take a hard look at the Circa Survivor. There are 4,000 people in it, and
still
over 21. No, 4,000 going to the weekend. 2,100 lost yesterday.
Wow.
1,300 on Atlanta and 800 on Cincinnati, and plus. So I think we're down under 2,000 now. So
out of how many people entered it? 100,000?
18.5.
Oh, 18.5. Okay. I thought it was
buddy of mine talked to him yesterday. He had Atlanta today and couldn't believe it.
I'm sort of surprised there are that many left, actually, at this point.
Yeah. Atlanta would have been my survivor pick yesterday, too. That would have been the end of me.
I sat with a guy who had Atlanta, and that was the beginning leg of his 3-team parlay. So you can imagine how distraught he was right from the outset of the game when it appeared.
It's very weird. It's very weird. So I look at those lines yesterday. For the first time, there was only 2.5 lines, and then it went to 3. There was the short line was Houston 2.5, and then the Ravens went up to 3. So after they were 7.5 thinking Jackson would play. As soon as Jackson would play, they went to 2.5. They went up to 3. Buddy of mine saying, "Watch out for the Ravens today." He said they're all out. I'm like, really? I said Chicago's playing so well, and again, it's week to week thing. You could see this coming. Chicago has to settle for 2 field goals first. Ravens go down and score. They go down and score again. You're sitting there with a plus 8.5 teaser, and you're sitting there, oh my God, you're in trouble because that's the right numbers. 2.5 goes over 7 at 3 and 7, and it's been notoriously a high percentage play. Doesn't happen. Same thing with yesterday with San Francisco, 2.5 to 8.5, high percentage play, doesn't hit. So you're just sitting there looking at this, and then you have all those 7s that you're thinking, who's going to lose? And the one I thought was automatic was Atlanta. But I really thought Buffalo, because the Buffalo goes into that jet factor that I talk about, where the teams playing the Jets are 0-7 against the number now the next week after a jet game. So if you're looking at that stat, if you want to go with the number, fade the Bengals this week if they're playing. I don't know if they're not off or whatever, but yeah, that's the little run of rule. And last week it applied to Buffalo. Carolina beat the Jets the week before. Buffalo goes into Carolina and wins by 30. So it's like, but I thought of all those games, Atlanta was the safest one that you would win. I thought New England might have had their problems. I thought the Philly Giants could have given Philly a little bit of an issue. Nope, didn't happen with either one of those teams, and looks like the one that you suffer with was Atlanta.
Mike McDaniel's a genius. Let's just put it that way. If you go by the criteria that a coach that could take a team's worst performance and in the span of a week, I don't know if it was inspiring team meetings, what kind of philosophical dribble he was able to espouse to these guys to motivate them, and coach them up to their best performance of the season by far. A remarkable accomplishment by a guy who every day they're flying banners over his house saying, you got to go. Unbelievable. Speaking of which, again, this proves to be fact. Teach your children to become failed college football coaches. Brian Kelly, a massive buyout from LSU. You could kind of sense that there was some tension in the wind there. He was particularly testy after wins with the press in the post-game press conferences. He wasn't normally like that in the past, right? I mean, he wasn't sort of gruff, coming after kind of irascible when a reporter would say, "Hey, were you happy with the running game today?" And he says, "Christ, we won the ball game. What do you fucking want from us?" Right. Seemed like maybe he was feeling a little bit of pressure there, but isn't that? I mean, well, Mike, what you want to if you were going to lose a job and they had to give you $50 million as you're walking out the door, it's a lot better than trying to steal one of the laptops.
You've put this in my head since we started talking about isn't it a great job to be a failed college football coach?
Unbelievable.
Here's my thought on this. I had a very good friend, God rest his soul, who worked in the Notre Dame athletic office, who was close with Kelly. A week before that, he had a conversation with Kelly. They talked, maybe a couple times a week. And he said that he had no indication he was leaving for LSU. And it was shocking to everybody in that office that he took that job. And I think it was probably going back to the Notre Dame game against Alabama when they got smashed in the first quarter. They were down 28-0 the first quarter of the championship game down here in Miami. And I think he just wanted to go test the waters of just trying to see if he can win a national championship. He goes to a school that everybody in their first 4 years, the last three coaches have won a national championship, and Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Ogeron. So when you see all that, that's it. I think he got there and realized this was going to be a tougher task because a different kind of athlete, different priorities, going to the South. It was just a little bit of a transition for a guy who had complete control over Notre Dame and had the kids all buy into everything he was saying, where there might have been a little pushback on him. And I think that's where the frustration lies. So I was thinking that as all this was happening this year, I was thinking he was almost playing to get fired in a weird way, like just not letting it bother him, not trying to repair it, saying, like this is going to be tougher than I think. It's not the right situation for me. It's crazy to think like that. It's a conspiracy theory, but just watching him on the sidelines, he would get a little angry at Notre Dame, but they all responded usually at that point. And there wasn't enough pressure. Everybody knew the recruiting at Notre Dame was different than anywhere else, that they couldn't get that athlete. It was the talk of that game when they were going to play Alabama, that they had no shot because they can't get the player that Alabama can. And now he's finding out, but he's going to be $54 million richer on a buyout.
You imagine?
Where does he go? I just find it fascinating. Everybody's talking about Lane Kiffin for all these jobs, and no one's mentioning James Franklin for any of them.
No.
That now are coming out. And then the next thing, Jeff, and I think this is really something I can't remember. Maybe you could help me. When have we seen this many in-season firings? I don't ever remember, like you had a kid that was 18, 19, was influenced by his coach, and you're just letting him go in the middle of the season. And now with transfer portals, I guess they could do it because they uproot everything and people can move on to whatever school they want to go to.
Financial advantage to doing it now, and you can't imagine, because usually these things have a huge escalator when it comes to the buyout happening during the course of the season.
Right.
It just adds to the embarrassment factor. I don't know. I mean, what's going to happen with LSU the rest of the way? That some interim coach is going to be able to somehow produce better results? You would have to think, no way, right? The guy's still playing for his job. You might be onto something. Who the fuck would care if you're getting $56 million and you were a guy that had sort of I don't know that he was Larry Brown, but the way that he uprooted himself from Notre Dame was not the sign of a guy that has this tremendous inbred loyalty to the people that are his current employers. So,
Jeff, I'll end the show by saying this. Nick Saban had a great clip on game day this week when he said that he thinks the development of the NIL and paying these players has led them to a different kind of focus, where the players think, and this is a buddy of mine's repeated this in baseball, that the players thinks they do have a little bit more control over what goes on, because now that the striving of trying to get to that next level isn't as important to them because they're being compensated, and the distraction. Do I go out? Do I have money to shop? Do I have all this? They're 18, 19, 20-year-old kids at this point.
Imagine you were in college, Mike Jones, and you had $5 million in your pocket coming in this year, and another $5 million coming in next year. When you were thinking, did you even have enough money to go out to the local harness track?
At that age, if I had that kind of money, I'd be looking at tombstones to buy. I would have been forgetting it. It wouldn't have survived. But it's a different way today. It's like, I just it's a clip on X. Hope you can find it if people search around. But it was brilliant. For a minute and 10 seconds, he just goes off on the fact that the player change in attitude. It's not that they're negative. It's not that they're not good. It's just there's a little edge that you need to get out of your player to get him to respond, because there's a distraction now with the money and the lifestyle and the capability of what he can do on and off the field. And he said it's tough to keep that focus. And I think these are the things I think that led Nick Saban to leaving football. I don't know if he comes back. Everybody thinks he wants to come back. I don't know if I had Nick Saban his money and did what he did. Do you really want to come back and take a job and pull a Bill Belichick, what he's going through now? It's like, I don't know if it's worth it.
Our man, Jim Larinaga, former UM head basketball coach, very distinguished college basketball coaching career, would tell you straight up that was the reason that he didn't want to do it anymore. And he had forewarned us years before people started to become aware of what was happening in this transition, that this was going to be such a transformation for college sports, that you were going to see a lot of this, where older coaches especially were just like, hey, this isn't good for the game. But I mean, it is good in the sense that I think justice was finally served there, because these kids were making billions of dollars for people, and the pie was not being divided anywhere close to uh, the level of equality that it should have been for people that are performing a job. If you're a great musician and you happen to be in college, you can go out and get paid. If you're some kind of nuclear physicist or whatever, you can make money right then and there. Some company hires you as a genius. Why shouldn't you be getting paid if you're generating all this income? I always felt that way, but
Right.
has it transformed the game from a betting standpoint too? I think you would have to say yes. All right, Mike, always a pleasure. So what did we have? We have the Dodger game going under. We have the
Ottawa
Grizzlies
Senators by a buck and
giving
a half. We have
Golden State a game.
we have
We
the
have
Grizzlies plus 8.5, and we have
Bruins
the
getting crushed in Ottawa. And what was our other one?
Keeneland.
And the slash Redskins Commanders getting
Right.
11 from
We'll
from.
take a shot. $50 parlay. Who knows? We could probably pay you about 600-700.
Oh, I think it would be more than that. It'd be great. All
Mhm.
right, always a pleasure, my friend. Good luck with
Yeah,
all your plays tonight. Always a lot of fun
thanks.
talking stuff with you here on the show, and we'll talk to you again on Thursday. The next time
Right.
you appear with us on Bury Your Bookie. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. And from Mike Jones, I'm Jeff DeForest. Go out there and cash in on that parlay and do it with the intention of burying your bookie once and for all.